All right, it is officially 5 past the hour, and I'd love to start. So first off, I want to say a huge thanks to Nonsenses, aka Vague Nonsense, which is, if I'm not mistaken, Asylum and Cryptoid. I think that the idea that you guys had to create this kind of like decentralized podcast structure is brilliant. I love what it's doing for the community. I think it's going to be really impactful as we move forward and practice sharing our voice and our messages, because each one of us has a very unique and specific message that we should bring to the table and let the world know. So I'm hoping today can just flow organically like all the rest. So today is going to be very spacious. And so just a note to whoever is editing, if you use like an AI, I can shoot you over a couple ones that I use that will remove the negative spaces. That'll make listening to this podcast and post after post a lot more enjoyable without the long pauses. So today I'm really going to focus on what you guys want to share and what you guys are feeling called to speak. So I hope that everybody listening has at least one time their mic unmuted. And if that's not you today, don't worry, we can work up to that. But I'm really hoping to encourage and inspire people to come forth with their messages. So if you become a speaker, you're welcome. Everybody's welcome to be a speaker today on this call, every single person. And also, if you want to talk, I just want to say in advance, you don't have to raise your hand. You just simply unmute and go. So a few things today I'd love to start us off with. I feel that for the purposes of this module, I'd like to offer the listeners an opportunity to understand Darrow at a very simple and fundamental perspective. So I'd love to invite some of you guys to share how you would describe Darrow to a friend. So we can do a couple different versions. You know, you can describe Darrow to some children, or you can describe Darrow to your parents, or to, you know, a somewhat technical friend who's into other kinds of cryptos. So I'd love to invite you guys to tell us the audience of who you are describing Darrow to, and then describe Darrow. And I'd love to get the full range. So starting from, you know, the most simplest type of explanation, and then let's just build up from there. Because I don't think that people fully grasp it outside of our small circle here, but many people will be exposed to hearing this. So who would like to go first in this kind of intro to Darrow definition?
This is going to my mom. Hey, Mom. Monero is compromised, and we need to look at encryption more seriously. There's this thing called Darrow, an encrypted protocol. So if you don't mind, I'm going to like text you over some stuff that's going to make sense to you. That's cool. And she'd be like, yeah, I love it. That's what I'd do.
Nice.
Hi, Kalina. So let me see. Let me try. I guess I would explain it to a friend of mine who doesn't use much crypto, except for he hopes to buy some, hoping to get rich. He works in construction, and I would tell him, as I already have, that Darrow is basically surveillance proof, that nobody on Earth aside from you can know what you do with your Darrow, how much money you have in Darrow, because it uses this piece of technology that is known as homomorphic encryption, okay? Which means that basically everything stays inside the black box, and you never broadcast the naked numbers or your naked data to the outside world. You only broadcast the encrypted numbers, encrypted values, and whoever you are sending it to can verify it in encrypted state. So because of this, no third party on Earth, not even the CIA, the NSA, nobody not even phone manufacturers who build backdoors can surveil it. That's how I would put it.
Yeah, excellent. I'm loving these so far. You guys keep them going. Who else wants to go? Maybe let's try and get a little bit of a more technical one. Does somebody want to try and speak to somebody who is already pretty deep in crypto and how they would describe Darrow?
I'll talk about your previous point there, Kalina. So describing Darrow to somebody that doesn't know anything about it, it's just a tool that you could use to solve many different problems. But one of the persistent problems that we face in our society is this digital voyeurism and people, selling your personal information, your personal data. So you have a right to privacy, and Darrow allows you that right to privacy and to conduct business and transact and communicate with anybody that you want to privately. And this tool is just in its infancy, but we're looking to build and develop solutions for everyday people. So something to be looking forward to and of interest for myself.
Yeah, I like to touch on that aspect that you mentioned. Privacy is a fundamental right. And while it's a very common concept in Darrow, all of us, we're here because we understand that concept. But that's also a concept that people have really not understood. It hasn't been embedded into us except for like the small things that we are told, using the bathroom, etc. And I think that this is a conversation that is going to be able to propel us as a community to help other people be inspired by privacy and that it's our right. What are your guys' ideas regarding privacy becoming more mainstream and recognized as a fundamental right? What kinds of things do you see would need to happen in order for more people to really adopt that privacy is a fundamental human right?
One thing that I think would be useful would be, we know that our governments are not going to protect us from privacy because they've created the landscape that we are living in now. And corporations, along with government, are benefiting and profiting off of our lack of digital privacy. So it's really imperative on all of us to communicate with each other in the most private means necessary, because unless you're sharing something with the entire world, the entire world doesn't have a right or a need to know that information. So again, Darrow offers that opportunity to be able to communicate with those people that you choose to. And just think about social media. What if we had a social media that was only the people that we wanted to communicate with and interact with, and not anybody else? Nobody else could see the conversations that we're having. This is what Darrow offers that opportunity to us.
The targeted advertisements always make me think Darrow. I get so tired of having a casual conversation at work and then coming to whatever device I use later and there be an advertisement for, whatever it was I was talking about. I know that's simple, but you take and apply that to areas of your life on a grander scale, and you can kind of see the prison that can form around you. And the only way out of that at this point is Darrow. So, you take that vein of it and use that to explain it to people who have never heard of, Darrow before. It's a way to get out of the targeted advertisement, the targeted everything of your life. Your time is valuable, and it should, if anybody's going to have a part of it, they should be paying you. It shouldn't be the other way around. You shouldn't be handing your data over to these corporations scot-free, without any gain. So.
Yeah, that's well said. It's interesting because it's so dramatic, the advertising, and it's really quite scary. Even just last night, I was on the phone with my best friend, and she was talking about how she'd love to go to the Amalfi Coast and have, drink this fine wine, blah, blah. And literally, I was scrolling Instagram stories while she was speaking, and 2 frames later, I get an advertisement for like a wine tour in Italy. And that's insane because that's not even me saying it. So it's somehow she's talking about what she wants to do, and they already have enough data to know that I'm on the phone with her and would tell her. And then similarly today, I was looking for replacement water filters for my water filtration system on Amazon. And when I open Instagram, immediately there's an ad for water filtration systems. Now, either this means that they know that my Amazon account, which is all salted, everything's different email addresses, different names, but somehow they either know through my device, through my cell phone, or through their network of AI, and it's happening at such a fast pace that they know to target that for me. Now, some people might say that's not really an issue. That's not something that's going to, oh, it's not so terrible. Like, come on, don't you want a water filter? That's great for you. But the implications of it are really, really quite terrifying. And I'm really liking how we're going with this direction of the conversation so far. Like the first part, we can make it real mellow so that we can share it with, our friends, our family, etc. And so for those people that really don't understand how this data surveillance can be used against them, what do you guys have to say to them in terms of that? Like, how can this become weaponized at a later date for those people that don't understand the concept?
So I think we can tie together the second question to the first one about which I wanted to say. I think it boils down to our right to disagree, which is basically our right to free will. Like, we have this right to decide freely, regardless. So free will is described sometimes as like we have reasons to do something, and then we actually doing something is something else. So this gap between having the reasons to do something and actually doing it is our free will, because that's where we decide whether to do something or not. And that's where we decide whether to agree with something or not, and so on and so forth. So under surveillance, you are not free to disagree, with something that you simply don't want, with something that you simply don't like. So it's basically about your way of life, right? How you live, like your everyday life, and your right to exercise this freedom of will on your daily life. So I think it's really much bigger than like advertising. Targeted advertising is one side of it, but I think soon people will become aware of the issue on a much bigger scale. Like on healthcare, it has implications on healthcare in their workplaces and so on and so forth. And this basically also answers your second question, I think, because once people become aware of the importance of this private space where they get to decide on their own, like whether they want to do something or not, regardless of the rational reasons, right? Because that's what targeted advertising is about. They know that you like this and they know you like ABC, so that they try to make it look like since you have those reasons to do something, then you must do it this way. So they try to brainwash you. I mean, this is the psychological abuse of targeted advertising. But to remain free and in all other choices, it's fundamental to have privacy. And for this reason, I think it cannot be anything else but a fundamental human right.
Yeah, well said. So I think that I want to talk about some of the things that I've been burning to know more about. And we've got Secret with us. And Secret does not want to show his Discord server, so I'll have to do it for him. How many of you guys are in his server? Just send like a little emoji in the chat. So we got quite a few of you. Secret's doing some really phenomenal and groundbreaking stuff with his server. And I would really like to invite you to speak a little bit about what you're doing and how you did it, because you're using the APIs. And from what I heard with Module 2, I believe, it sounds like you don't even really require Discord in some areas, but that's just kind of like what you're using, but like that your work kind of like goes around Discord so that they don't have to see the transactions and whatnot. I'm really curious about that. And I also have a little bit more questions about what I've seen in your server lately. But Secret, I'd love to invite you to share a little bit on that.
Oh, wow. I'm like super flattered and kind of like mad blushing right now. So please be patient with me. Yeah, I don't try and shill the Discord server because that's what I do like all damn day. So I try and keep it at a min when I'm in other spaces because I want to respect your guys' space and because I'm a part of it, right? And so yeah, secret Discord server. Basically the secret Discord server is like a series of show and tell experiments to make use of the Zero wallet has an API. It's like really easy to access. It's just like stupid easy to access. And so you can build logic around that access. The most interesting one actually recently was, so when anyone does the Discord thing, there's oftentimes with like communities of official projects and stuff, you have to make use of like a verification bot. It's like a spam tool. And that spam tool is often delegated onto some other third party. And that third party, as a bot, mind you, has certain permissions to your server and to the users of your server, which is really, really interesting in a privacy community. I don't know what that bot can do in the background, but I know that it does a really good job of verifying my users when it comes in. So recently, I decided to make use of Zero as a verification bot. Like, do you have a valid registered address on the Zero blockchain? And if you don't, you're not a verified user or in the secret Discord server, and you represent an unregistered user, and everyone can make fun of you because you're not registered. This really got me thinking a lot about how quick we are as people to actually sell out our friends' privacy. And we don't usually even think of it like that because we're just so like, oh yeah, I trust this thing. I'm trying to solve this problem. Let's just go forward with it. Little do you know that very often when we make use of third-party services, we sacrifice other people's privacy. And one of the things that's so neat about Zero is it actually kind of protects user privacy. Because the users, now it's assumed, everybody, let's just like get to it. Like Discord is a money-making machine. That's what it does. And they recently released a shop, like a store. They used to have one for video games and stuff, but then they like killed it because it just didn't do very good. Probably like a lot of copyright infringement and stuff. But so then they just re-released a shop. And I looked at it and I was like, shit, guys, I've already built all these tools. We just got to like use what Discord's already giving us to make a marketplace inside of Discord. Because like, you know, one of the big things that people get excited for, like for privacy coins, is that you can have private marketplaces. But what they don't know is with Discord and with Zero, you can have a private marketplace that's like really freaking private because the transactions are taking place typically the transactions are taking place off of the platform. There's some assumptions that are made using a Discord server regarding your privacy when you use it. There's some assumptions that you have to make, but it's quite conceivable that people can build tools for people to interact with them that has no engagement between the user and the site itself. So like, for instance, oftentimes with an application, they require some form of verification and they'll use like an email address. So, well, you probably use that email address everywhere. And if you don't, the company that owns the email hosting probably knows all of your email addresses because they're just that big at this point. And there's only so many places that you can actually register an email address on a device that they have already logged in their system. They know that's your device, right? So Zero offers some like really neat things to think about for future developers, that we can use wallets to verify users. We can use wallets to filter certain kinds of users. So I could just go on and on. Kalina, I could just go on and on like about how cool Zero is, and specifically its API, because yeah, like it seems really simple, like get transfers or like, like get encrypted balance. That doesn't mean what you think it means. It just is a check to see, does that person have a balance? Check it. And it doesn't give you the balance. It just tells you there's an encrypted balance here. Anyway, so a lot of these things can be really, really helpful as, software developers and, business planners and stuff like that. Like I said, I can just go on and on and on about how cool it is that there's an API that we get to use that's native to the very software that we're using. We don't have to like refer to Etherscan or Infura where they, hold all the data over you and stuff like that. So Is that kind of what you're thinking, Kalina? I could just go on and on. You know I could.
Yeah, so I really am interested specifically in highlighting more about Darrow's API because, I myself have a Discord server and I love the idea of utilizing that. And I think that Discord could be a very nice platform for decentralized usage of Darrow's services. And I really love what you've done with that. And so the more that you can share, like in simple terms for all of us, because this doesn't, I assume that what you're doing with Discord it's not exclusive to just Discord. There'll be other areas that we can tap into the power of using Darrow's API in other places. So I like how you said that you're providing the first real world example publicly of how to do this. And I think that that's something that I personally would like to tap into. And if I'm thinking that, I know that other people will want that as well. So my question for you specifically is maybe you could just start with explaining what is an API and how to use it specifically in regards to Darrow.
Nice. Super cool question. So the API basically is just a bunch of functions. Like that's all it is. And the API has some specific rules for how to activate those functions. And so if you just talk to the API, it will talk back at you. So in simple terms, you could be running a wallet on some computer, some server, anywhere on the internet, essentially. And you could ask it to conduct transactions on your behalf, given that you built this, right? For instance, like the tip bot. So it's not too hard to conceive of building into some kind of communication platform, because that's really the big problem that a lot of developers have, is they don't have any users. They don't have anybody who's interested in using the stuff. And so I just thought, well, why don't we just bring the stuff to them? They're in Discord. And you could do it on Facebook. You could do it on Instagram. You could do it on Twitter. You could really bring the functions of the wallet and the node to whatever social media you want. So in the simplest terms, the API is bringing Darrow to you, if that makes sense. And so if you feel like you're like, hey, like I'm on, this platform or this platform, you very likely that platform has a very public documentation for how you can absolutely act like a virus and hijack the hell out of that thing. No, I'm just kidding. No, but I'm serious. So you can bring the functions of Darrow. Actually, the way I look at it, because I'm super self-centered and stuff like that, is I think of how do I bring the best of that platform to Darrow? And that's the way I've been looking at it. It's like, how do I bring the cool stuff about Discord and bring it over here to Darrow land so that I can tip my friends, or I can tip all my friends, or I can generate grants, or I can verify users, or I can build smart contracts, or I can set up a way for people to launch tokens, or, build a store, or just on and on and on. Because when you bring the functions of where people are at to Darrow, magic happens. It's freaking crazy. Oh, such a good question.
This is amazing. I'm really fascinated, especially specifically using Instagram, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So my question is this: which one of the APIs that you've used and with Darrow services in your Discord server so far has been the easiest or simplest? And if so, can you walk us through what you did with that specific service?
Okay. So that's an awesome question. That's such an awesome question. So the first thing that you're going to want to do with Darrow services, hey, it's the NSA. They're after me. Just kidding, guys. It's a big helicopter. My son would be pointing at it and going, helicopter. Yeah, it's flying over all. Dang. It's a big one. Hey, so thanks for your patience. So the first thing I would say is what you're going to want to do with Darrow services is you're going to want to build tools or services that service you. And that's really important to the start of a development journey, is you're building tools that satisfy your needs. And then once you've done that, you're sharing it with others to get broadened perspective and use so that you can harden your use case and your software. So to answer directly, yeah, so probably the easiest way to start with Discord is, this is so funny. So, I had to make, because I really desperately wanted to learn how to do more software development stuff. I really wanted it so bad. And I knew that none of my friends and none of my mentors and nobody I knew was going to take time to teach me. And I only knew there was this newfangled thing called Chat GPT that I'd go talk to, and it would just talk to. And I got used to talking to it about Dero and the Dero API. And what I did is I went to docs.dero.io and I just gave it the different curl requests to activate the wallet and Node API. Just played with that. Just said like, chat, here's this curl request. Tell me what it's doing. And it would tell me what it's doing. And then I would go and take it to my terminal and would do it. And then I would like tell chat, I'd say, hey, like iterate on this idea, like give me like, do more with this. And then it would like do more with it. And I just kept playing with that idea. And then I found out that you can do curl requests to Discord servers to find out what's being said in this channel right now. And that's really helpful when someone wants to say like mint token. And I have made a request to Discord to tell me, what's the last thing that was said in this room? Oh, they said mint token. Okay, so I run over to the server and I mint a token really fast. And then I send them a message back and it says, yo, we made this token. And that's basically where it all started, was just learning that the wallet, you can just ask it for information aside from just running, like going into the wallet. You can like send requests to it and it will respond. And you can actually do that with like 90% of the internet. Like you can just say, hey, at this spot, tell me what's going on here. And luckily a large language model is like pretty handy for like, hey, format this so I can do this. And then pretty soon I built this swap that was like a Dero XMR swap. And I was like, what the hell did I just make? And then later I was like, hey, why don't we just build this into a Discord server? And so now when people are interacting with the Discord server, they can connect with that swap. So really, like when it comes down to, the easiest place to start is just like go to docs.dero.io and just learn how to curl request information from your wallet and your node. And if you can do that, you can basically build anything, because the internet is made for that level of simplicity. Anyway, yeah, that's.
So a few things on that. First off, thank you for sharing that. I think that you're demonstrating something that is going to be so useful for all of us, because like you said, it's not limited to Discord. If we can learn to leverage the power of these Dero services in other ways, then we essentially take Dero to the masses. They don't have to come to us. And that is going to be
100.
I did something there.
No, it's just, it's one of those nice spotty moments.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So my question for you was, what exactly is curl in layman's terms?
It's CURL, but like I just say curl because that's easy to remember. It's really easy to remember. So go ahead.
No, I guess, so it's what you just said then, that a curl is when you make an inquiry to see what's going on in a specific part of the internet, correct?
Yeah, that's basically it. And there's it's a standard that's like a really old standard, and it's been going on for like a long time. So most of the internet runs like this. It's just sending HTTP requests to people.
Okay. So can you give us like a very simple breakdown of what your swap is doing? So like, I'm in your Discord server. I want to swap, let's say, Monero for Dero. What are all the steps that happen starting from me initiating that behind the scenes or in front of the scenes in regards to Discord? What happens to make that happen?
Holy crap, that's like the coolest question ever. What? You fielded me a home run, dude. What is this? Okay. So basically, all right. So real quick, philosophy. Did you get yourself stuff? There you go. Okay. So quick philosophy, Unix is also a philosophy of how to develop software. And one of those things is that you should build your software in such a way that you don't know what the inputs of it will be one day. Specifically, also, you don't know the outputs that will happen one day. And so because of that, what's really important is that you understand this. What the swap is doing is it's doing a couple things at once. So because it's a big script, it's a big bash script, it's basically a list of instructions. And that list of instructions are doing a couple things. The first thing it does is it generates an integrated address. And that integrated address is basically saying, at this address, if you see someone pay at this address, great. And so this is different than like every other cryptocurrency out there. And so I can literally thumbs down like every other cryptocurrency because of this one thing about Dero. We can build integrated addresses, and an integrated address, dude, you asked me like one of the toughest questions, like how the swap works. There's so many parts to it. So the integrated address is the opportunity for users to create basically a code, right? And so when the user pays for it, it writes the code onto the blockchain. And so that code that you write onto the blockchain is encrypted. So what happens is, okay, I know I'm losing you, but it's all going to come together. So what the swap does is it generates two addresses. It generates an address for how to swap Dero for Monero and an address for how to swap Monero for Dero. Both of these addresses are just they're like triggers, right? They're triggers for the higher levels of logic that this program works on. So then the next thing that happens is there's a scan, and the scan is passing over the wallet to see if anybody's touched either of these integrated addresses. And if they touch them, what happens is there's a reply that goes to those wallets with a set of instructions that I need them to follow in order to fulfill this request. On the one hand, swapping Dero for Monero, users giving me Dero and I'm giving them Monero, that was really freaking hard, actually. That was really, really tricky and took a long time to figure out until I remembered that we have integrated addresses. So as a user, you can comment up to 128 bytes on a transaction and send that to user B. I request that you make that an XMR address, a valid one, right? So when I go ahead and scan the wallet again, so the first scan, I check, did anybody ask for a set of instructions? The answer is, hey, yes, this guy wants to trade his Dero for Monero. Great, simple, easy. Is the comment that he made in his transaction? Yeah, I know I'm talking about stuff. So is that transaction with a valid XMR address? And if that valid XMR address, which is checked, we just do another curl request. Sir, I'm in the middle of a call. Thanks, bud. So what it does is it does a quick request of the Monero wallet and says, is this a valid address? And it says, yes, that's a valid address, or no, that's not a valid address. So it checks it and says, yeah, that's a valid address. And I say, great. So then we toss that address into the XMR wallet and it says, hey, okay, so we've got this address. How much am I sending? So earlier I checked to see how much they actually sent me with the address that they gave me. And I'm able to do a quick computation based on pulling from TradeOgre. I just do another curl request over here. I say, hey, TradeOgre, give me the current price of Dero. And it says, hey, it's this. And I go, great. So I take the amount that they have and I compute it against the amount that TradeOgre says it's going at, and I send Monero to the address that they gave me. And boom, there it is. The transaction is done. So that's how the swap works at the most like basic level. Discord just goes one. Go ahead.
No, you finished, please.
Yeah. So Discord just goes one step above that. Remember, because you start down real small, real low, real simple, and you just keep iterating on top of it and building more and more layers. So then Discord's on top of it, and it goes, okay, so you generated 2 integrated addresses when you turn the swap on. Can I have both of those, please? And it goes, sure, here you go. So basically, when a user's on Discord and they say,
I don't know if that was my Starlink that cycled, or I didn't hear the last part of that. Did you guys as well, or?
I think we might have lost secret.
Okay. Well, we can pick up with that again. I think that is really incredible. And I hope that you guys are also seeing the relevance of what he's talking about. And even though it might be a little complex to those of us that don't have a lot of coding experience, I do think that it's within our reach that we can also utilize this with a little bit of study. And if we're able to do that, I think that we're going to be able to turn all of our social medias into marketplaces. And yeah, I'd love to invite you, Secret, if you can hear this, to speak more about this at a later date. I just want to welcome Rafael Laverde. We've got Chucky Poo. I hope I said that correctly. B. Waldo, Quest. We've got Tech Leaks, and of course, Asylum and Cryptoid up here. And if anybody else is interested in taking the floor, you don't have to request to speak. You just jump in and speak at any time. If you are a listener right now and you would like to share, go ahead and request to be unmuted. We will happily welcome you into our conversation. Rafael, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. I have good news and bad news for Darrow. You guys ready?
Sure.
It's all wrapped in one news, so it really comes down to what paradigm you want to analyze this through. So what's happening is that this past week, lo and behold, the BTC laser eye side of the Bitcoin civil war, which hasn't ended, they're all of a sudden claiming that they've been able to discover Turing completeness within Bitcoin, within the Bitcoin protocol. Now, what they're going, because I snuck into a couple of their rooms where they're having these private conversations, this is what's happening. They're going to try to sell BTC, the BTC computational power that comes from Taproot, as a challenge to Darrow. Listen up. How are they going to do that? They're saying that by allowing for Turing completeness to happen outside of the chain of digital signatures that Satoshi gave us, and by them putting that within loops in extended blocks via taproots, they're saying that this is the rhetoric that they're using now. Because I'm literally listening to them. I'm watching them as they. It's almost like watching a political rally, and they're orchestrating talking points. The talking points that they're going to be using is exactly. Let me pull it up for you guys real quick, because it was actually kind of funny. They don't want to leave any. I think what they're using the language of footprint. Yeah, they want less on-chain footprint. What does that mean? Well, during the Bitcoin Civil War, there were 2 camps, right? One camp that wanted to turn Bitcoin into a privacy coin, and another camp that said, no, Bitcoin was never supposed to be a privacy coin. If you want a privacy coin, then we need to start from scratch. And that's where the origin of Monero comes from, right? Which is like, if we're going to start over, we're going to start from scratch and do it right. So, and then you have the birth of privacy coins, right? So right now what they're going to try to tell you is that that the BTC, the bit VM, they call it the bit virtual machine, that is private, that they're going to tell you that it is private, and that you don't need Darrow, that you don't need anything, any other. That's so. In other words, they're gonna. I already know what they're gonna do, dude. They're just gonna position themselves as a private alternative to Ethereum smart contract, because that's been the rhetoric that they've used for transactions via the Lightning Network and any other Rube Goldberg machine that they've created as a second layer, a layer approach to scaling. Now, there's good news behind this. The good news is that they're obviously, they don't have, I mean, they're never going to be able to accomplish anything near to what Daro offers. The good news is that this is a, there's a phrase for a type of horse that you use to show off the real horse. For ever get a staging horse, I think you call it, a stalking horse. So it serves as a good stalking horse for Daro, so that the conversation can begin, right? Again, the rhetoric that they're using is that they don't want any on-chain footprint. So this is good. This is actually, in my opinion, good for Daro, because people are becoming are becoming. So if you think about it this way, So like BTC is this giant metropolis for the world of crypto, and they are now just going to start realizing this world of smart contracts, and they're accepting it. And what they're saying is that, well, this is going to be the death of all shitcoins. Well, obviously not. So it's in my opinion, very it's very dishonest that they're gonna try to sell this as a smart contract, privacy smart contracts, the same way that they dishonestly try to sell the Lightning Network as a privacy layer for Bitcoin. So this is overall good news. And yeah, that's pretty much the latest update.
Rafael, are they actually mentioning Daro, or is that just you are adding that part?
No, I'm adding that part because there is no other network in the world like Daro. And the thing is that what's really funny is that they've literally stopped being small blockers. They literally put the nail in that coffin this week by introducing smart contracts on BTC. So this year, big blockers, because I come from the big blocker side of the Civil War, we started arbitraging data on BTC through ordinals, right? And now over 61% of transactions on BTC are on-chain data transactions. So you can't think about Bitcoin BTC as a small blocker digital-led network anymore. And we were able to onboard and bring about more traffic and just grow the network more within 6 months than they did with, VC funding and the backing of big tech for over 8 years with the Lightning Network. So they don't like that, obviously. Then after that, now we have this whole thing about that finally they're Turing complete. Well, guess what? They're passing around a textbook. I'll give you guys the name of the textbook for you guys who want to geek out. The name of the textbook is Advances in Intelligent Systems and Computing from 2019. Advances in Intelligent Systems and Computing from 2019. And they're and this is what's even hilarious, dude. That the author that has the most articles within this textbook is none other than Craig Wright, the guy that they hate, supposedly, right? The guy that they're going to war with, being led by Mark Zuckerberg, Sam Altman of ChatGPT-4, OpenAI. You have Jack Dorsey. You have all these tech giants going after BSV, and yet they're using what the research of people in BSV to do Turing complete on BTC their own way. Now, the caveat here is, why do they do it their own way? Because they always use the excuse for privacy, which is very deceptive. They try to say, well, we're doing this way because it's going to be the private alternative. We're converting Bitcoin into a privacy protocol. It's never going to happen. That is a lie. And honest people are in networks that are truly private, right? If you are going to tell someone that your network is private, it better be private by default, like Daro. If your smart contracts are private, they need to be within a network that has privacy by default. So they're going to start using this language. They're going to start saying that this is that Bitcoin smart contracts are private. So just get ready. It's going to happen. Overall, this is very good for Daro. And that's pretty much it, guys. I have nothing else to share.
Oh, well, thank you for sharing that, Ross. I think it's it is kind of cute and funny, right? And I know that I wouldn't liken it to a high school musical drama per se, but it does have similar kind of elements to that. And the truth is the truth doesn't care what all the lies say, right? The truth isn't intimidated. In fact, when poked and prodded, right, the truth appreciates being questioned because it gives the opportunity to share and shine. And so those people that are wrapped up with BSV or Bitcoin or whatever, and they don't care about Daro, well, we don't actually really care about them either because they're not our target audience. Like you said, we're interested in building with people who understand the value of privacy and who understand that Daro is, it is very ironclad in that regard. But I was wondering, I know that we had probably many people's ears perk up in regards to that. Does anybody have anything to respond to or share in regards to what Raf just said? I'm thinking, Asylum, maybe you might have something.
I don't see any concern in being worried about more lies out there. It's not like anything new is coming in that direction. Bitcoin, it's impossible to make Bitcoin L1 private. So that's not a concern. I don't care what anybody says. It's also not possible to have private encrypted services on Bitcoin. It's also not possible to have private assets on Bitcoin. So I don't understand what the concern would be over anybody's bullshit narratives out there with BSV or Bitcoin. It has nothing to do with Daro. If you want something real, then just stuff paying attention to all the noise fogging your brain.
All right, Asylum, you and Kalina are like on point. And what you just said, like, I want to use it as a segue to bring something up. You said, to cut through the noise. Okay. So, I think that there has been let's call it four major developments in crypto history. Number one was the discovery of sound money, digital sound money. And the best iteration of that we've seen in privacy coins, right? Because you need money to be fungible. The second was smart contracts, which allows us to organize and cooperate in ways that we've never had before. And that's the birth of DeFi and all the, NFTs and all the cool stuff we have. The third, discovery in crypto, is something that I've actually been working on. I didn't discover it. It was discovered by Daniel Krawitz. And it is the use of crypto incentives, the use of crypto dynamics, the use of crypto as technology. And and I have to say this, every cryptocurrency has its own ingredients, right? The ingredients that you find in the Daro kitchen are very different than the ingredients you find anywhere else. So what you can cook, the recipes you can come up with in the Daro kitchen are very different from the recipes you can come up anywhere else, right? So having that said, when you look at the Daro kitchen, we have to start thinking about how it is that we can use Daro ingredients where we can create recipes where we can signal to each other across the noise of the internet. What do I mean by that? How do you go about doing that, really? And the way that my buddy discovered was actually by looking at biology. And there is a research done by Zahavi, called the handicap principle. And the handicap principle states that in nature, animals give themselves a handicap, naturally speaking, to gain attention. And the handicaps evoke a sense of honesty because there's something you should pay attention to there. It's not an indicator of truth, but it shows you that there's something worthy to pay attention to and investigate further. So the classic example of that is that of a peacock with its feathers. Peacock grows feathers that make him Peacock makes himself more vulnerable to predators because it's a heavy tail, and and it's just something large to carry around. But the health of the peacock is indicated to the peahens, and it shows his success in nature. It shows the peahens like, man, this guy's like really successful. Look at that beautiful look at his tail, right? Like fucking that, he's a Chad. Now a scrawny, malnourished, sick peacock would not be able to grow that tail, right? In human nature, right, we see this like if you're at the coffee shop with your friends and a guy pulls up in a Lamborghini and it's a like top of the line Lambo exotic car, it's gonna catch your attention, right? Because the guy could have driven a Toyota to the coffee shop, but it caught your eye. Okay, it caught your eye. Now, does that mean that necessarily the guy owns the Lambo? No, he could work for the dealership, could work for a car rental, or he could actually be the dude that instead of driving his Toyota, he just he likes to drive his Lambo every morning to get his morning coffee, right? So the attention aspect is there. The attention aspect is taken care of, and that's all we worry about in the internet. In this internet that is becoming ever more manipulative, especially with AI, where we're at the point, guys, and this is very serious. We're at the point where I have, if you guys look through my Twitter feed, there are teachers who are throughout the world right now. They are banging the drum about how their students are forming relationships with AI bots, and they're becoming literally the psyops that we're living in right now are so intense that even our own humanity is being psyop, where children are being taught to form relationships with AI. How messed up is that, right? So that's in my opinion one of the most difficult things most important things that we have to deal with. And give me 1 second, please, guys. I'll be right back.
Yeah, it was interesting. A little touch on peacocks. Did you guys know? Oh, I'm a peacock mom for one, but peacocks actually get their colors and their tails from eating poisonous plants. Like it's like a detox quality, and they'll go around and eat poisonous plants, and the more poisonous plants they eat, the shinier their tails are. Segue. Anyways, I also wanted to, I know that we got cut off secret right around that time that we were speaking about your Monero to Darrow swap in your Discord server. My next question for you is, how could you give us a list of all the different ways that you are utilizing Darrow's API in your Discord server so that people can be inspired by all the potentialities that they can do?
Wow, you're a saint. I hate getting cut off. I had my phone in my hand and it died, and I was like, no. So then I just grabbed the other phone I have because redundancy is awesome. So yeah, like you're just like asking like what kind of services I make use of. To be fair, not that many actually. It's so funny. I love rock. I love it. There is definitely ingredients in this kitchen called Zero. I use very few of them. I'm a very plain Jane kind of guy when it comes to APIs. It just so happens that having built, the Zero Monero swap, I've learned a little bit about Monero's API, and I've learned about Zero's API. I've also learned about Bitcoin's API, interestingly enough, because I'm going to build a Zero BTC swap. That's going to happen. Um, I think that what we're talking about, Roth, I'm not going to avoid this question, Kalina. I get what you're saying with the metropolis of BTC, because you're really speaking to the metropolis of participants, not necessarily BTC being like an actual metropolis. You're talking about the actual participants of it. And yeah. And I think that was kind of lost there for a second. And so I just want to bring that back home. They are a metropolis because it's an old, it's like old money at this point, which is kind of weird. It's like really weird. And they all know each other's balances. They all know when they like move money around and stuff like that. It's sick, in my opinion. It's like a really sick kind of voyeurism. And that's why I love tossing in, it's my favorite. On Twitter, I just go into the organizers and I just say, hey, I have privacy concerns about Bitcoin. I have privacy concerns. Nobody will address them because they all have privacy concerns, but they just have to shill this bitch to the top of the hill so they can sell it off on the next sucker. But that's just my opinion there. So in terms of like the API, Kalina, I don't really use that many elements of the wallet. I use transfer. That's a pretty helpful one to know, how to transfer funds without accessing the wallet itself, just through the API. Granted, you're going to have a wallet running, but you just curl the request with the proper user password. You just send it the request and it will move the funds on your request. And that's actually pretty typical of every cryptocurrency API, is that they're going to have some basics, some like rudimentary stuff. But the ones I use that I really love, I have this one. I think it's always valuable to know like what's going on with the node. And so I have this one, the get info is a really nice one to do. It just gives you like a drill down of what's going on with the node right now, what the height is, what the difficulty is, how many coins there are, how many miners are attached to your node. I have 3 right now. Feeling pretty good about that. And then it just kind of gives you a drill down of your node or the node that you're interacting with, which is actually cool. You can actually query captain's nodes and see how many miners are on those. Got an interesting piece of information. But mostly I use the wallet RPC because I just am mostly doing stuff with the wallet. I also do one for get encrypted balance. That's a node one. But anyway, so your API is broken into functions of the wallet and functions of the node. And the node can give you like really important information about the blockchain, height, transaction, like do they have an encrypted balance? I check my users for a valid address when they go to register their address with my server. I check to see if it's even registered on the blockchain first. Learned that lesson the hard way. You check that. And that's really good. It's a nice safety measure for users because you want to make sure that this is actually a valid address before you start using it. And it helps to also tell users about like, hey, your wallet's not actually registered and stuff like that. But the biggest one is just send transfer, and get transfers is pretty helpful. Speaking to that, so this is going to blow your mind, guys. There is no API for your bank. You can't curl a request to your bank and say, can you give me all of my transfers? You can't even send a request to your bank that says, hey, tell me what my balance is. You have to have their application, or you have to go to their web server and you have to ask them for what their records say about what they believe your balance is, what your transfers may be. I have checked my bank account a couple times for transfers that have happened that were completely unauthorized. I've had checks that have been written across my account that were checks from entirely different banks were cashed through my account without even my name on it or anything like that. And so I've had to go and like reverse these transactions. What the hell, banks? Come on. You guys are supposed to have your big boy pants on. All the money in the world, but you can't solve a damn problem. Anyway, so really simple stuff.
Oh, I just wanted to speak to that with the banks having the API. I remember, what was it, like a year ago or more, when we were strategizing for the Buy Daro and the Daro Pay plugins.
Yeah.
That was the main hookup, was like we could not find a bank with an API. I do have insider information that there is a bank in our network of people who are aware of Daro, like by one removed contact. And they are designing a bank, not in the United States, that will have an API that we can tie into. So here is an open standing. I will do a 5 Daro bounty. If you have information on any bank that has an API, please connect it with me and I will send you 5 Daro.
That is such a good, that is a good one.
Right? Because I think it's really necessary, and that would open up so much for us, especially like if we look at the jurisdiction of what country it is and what their laws are regarding crypto.
Well, because what you have to do right now in order to get that information is you have to go to another third party. Plaid is one that you can use. You go to Plaid and say, hey, Plaid, would you go to my bank and get that information for me? Like, what the hell? I have to go to a third party to know my information programmatically? It's just.
Right. Which is why Daro is so amazing, that it solves that, because all our data is by default user facing. And so we are getting down to the last few minutes together. And I know that this has been a very API and secret centric module, but I just think that what he's bringing to the space is so groundbreaking. And I think that really, if we can all use this, man, we're opening up our world. So my last question to you before our time runs out is, how could we, like, let's do an example with Instagram. I'm on Instagram. I've got a nice following on there. I'm constantly sharing and posting, and people are curious about Daro. And how could somebody like me, who is relatively non-techie, use Daro's API in Instagram? And could you just give us a little bit of an example about this? Because if we can do it with Instagram, we can do it with any platform that you guys are on.
So I want to say thank you for making this a secret-centric session and asking me a lot of questions. It really, really just fills the ego bucket. So I just have to I just want to fill your bucket for a second, really, because you're awesome. Kalina, thank you so much for taking the time to really learn your people, learn your audience, and learn not just about Daro, but learn about lots of stuff. And so I really am grateful for the kinds of people that you bring around and the kind of person you are. So I just really got to speak to that. Oh my gosh, helicopters, the NSA again. No, but
Thank you. I appreciate it. But really, it's easy because, like, your topic is very interesting to me for a practical reason. And make no mistake about it, I want to tap into this power and utilize it for my businesses. So it's not just like a totally benevolent thing. Like, I'm thinking like a businesswoman here, but go on, please.
Well, if you're thinking like a businesswoman, let me go ahead and value your time appropriately and value everyone's time appropriately and say, why don't we talk about this outside of this conversation where we can actually bring up the tools together and really put 2 and 2 together? Does that sound fair? And that's an open invite to everybody.
Yeah, let's cook. I say we cook, brother.
So let's cook some goodies, bro. So with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and just listen.
No, I'm sorry. You have to answer the question in regards to Instagram before. That's our last question, and then we're hanging up.
That's a tall ask. Here's why. I don't know the extent of Meta's API, but I can tell you that it's extensive because it's a very big monster. So that's why I'm kind of like deflecting to another time where I'm more knowledgeable.
Okay, no worries. But how about this? Could you give us a hypothetical idea of something very simple? So, for example, like, there's products that you can sell on Instagram. You can use these little third-party apps if you have a business account. And I see people doing it, you know, if they have little like jewelry businesses or whatever, and you can click on a dot and it'll tell you the price. So hypothetically, could we create something that allows us?
Yes. Yes. The answer is yes. It's just not going to be like what you expect it to be. So I totally have ideas for that already, and I would love to go drill down with it, but let's get in front of the docs and not in front of my speculative brain. Is that fair?
Sure, absolutely. Okay, so I want to open the floor up to those people who have been speakers that haven't had any time to really chat. That includes B. Waldo, Tech Leaks, obviously Cryptoid Asylum, Raphael, if you guys are interested. I would love to just give us our last closing thoughts because I know that we are pressed for time here. So what do you guys have to share for our closing thoughts in regards to this module?
So I wanted to note something about what Raphael said about BTC doing this layer 2, because it basically boils down to having a layer 2, a virtual machine of chain. And I think it misses, like with all the layer 2 narratives of privacy, they miss the entire point of privacy, because you cannot bring privacy on a transparent chain for the simple reason because privacy-savvy users cannot use BTC. You know, they cannot have a doxed address on chain that can be surveilled 24/7. Therefore, you don't have any users to serve in the first place. So that's why it's an oxymoron saying I'm offering you the equivalent of Dero on BTC, because I am under surveillance in BTC. So you cannot possibly fix this. So if I want privacy, the first thing that I do, I avoid BTC and I go look for a layer 1 that is natively private, and that's Dero. So offering privacy on BTC, you are offering to a bunch of idiots that don't know what privacy is. Like you are selling snake oil, because for real privacy, the real demand for privacy won't be on BTC or on ETH, like FHE is doing this layer 2 for with homomorphic encryption, whatever it's going to be, nobody knows. But you can't, it doesn't, you have no user pool, because your users, privacy safe users are not on ETH, they are not on BTC, they are not on a transparent UTXO chain, they are not on a transparent account model chain, they are on Dero. That's where because they want something that, or maybe on Monero too, because they want something that is encrypted on L1, right? So maybe saying I'm adding a VM to Monero, then that would be something. That would make sense. But saying I'm bringing privacy on BTC or ETH, it's like nonsense, because I can't even use ETH, mate. So what I'm going to do with your L2, because I can't even use it in the first place. So I think it's important pointing this out to avoid all the nonsensical cycles, in which people get caught up in these L2 discussions that are pure marketing.
Right on. The thing is that they prey on people who are very dumb, and people that are very they're not dynamic thinkers, right? A lot of people are very simple thinkers, and so they tend to be very partial, and they're like, oh, I'm just all about privacy, or oh, I'm all about transparency and honesty. Okay, dude, okay, that's fine, but be honest. So where all the stupid people get caught up in the middle is where they start confabulating both, and they don't understand what you just said. And so that's where, as people who advocate for the use of tools in the healthiest way possible, you have to make the distinction that you just made. So thank you for making those distinctions. Because there are people that will get hurt thinking that they're using something private when it's not, unfortunately.
But it's also important to know that there is a real market for privacy. Like there is already a market for privacy, users that want privacy, that value it. And aside from all the speculation, marketing, and all that manipulation narratives that we use to pump and dump coins, there are people who are privacy savvy, who want privacy, who want to be private. And those people, like if you are creating a product for that market, you can't reach them with any layer 2, so it's pointless. Like, of course, for a debate in an echo chamber, sure, it could make sense, but outside of it, in the real market, you cannot. There is no demand for this thing in the real privacy market. It's only maybe to get some VC funding, etc. And I would let them win those discussions but it's not really a real competition in the real privacy market that tries to address the needs of users that want privacy. And in that market, there is just Zero and Monero, and there is the only one that has a virtual machine.
Right on. Yeah, it's interesting what's going to happen now with BTC positioning itself as a place for private smart contracts. But we already know that that's going to be bullshit and actually pretty dangerous. So I think that's why I brought it up, because it's important to let people know that, hey, come on 1930s Germany situation, you don't want to use something that is transparent if what you really need is privacy.
I think that's why it's important for people to realize too, there's a difference between privacy with smart contracts and what people call private smart contracts. What people call private smart contracts are contracts that you can't see what they're doing, but with a transparent layer 1, it doesn't really matter because there is no privacy. So layer 1 privacy with smart contracts is really the only private way to do smart contracts, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. There are networks that, and there's only a few actually in the world that are actually honest about them being surveillance, truth ledgers, honesty machines. What bothers me is when you have surveillance protocols that position themselves as privacy protocols. That is very dangerous. So I stay away from those. I really prefer places that are honest about what they're about.
I think if I had anything to leave on, it would be a thank you to each and everybody that came out to this space. An old Lao Tzu proverb is to reflect in the past can cause depression, and to look too far in the future can cause anxiety. We'll get to that one. But to be calm in the moment is key. So all of you guys, there's so many other things you could be giving your attention to right now. As I'm sure you all know, I appreciate you taking the time and being in the moment here with us as we talk about Zero. And I'm a bit anxious because 2 weeks, guys, and we will be at non-census. I'm so glad to have that coming up, and I can't wait to talk to you all.
Yeah, for those of you guys that don't know, non-census is going to be like a privacy-focused conference put on by Vague, Nonsense, Asylum, and Cryptoid. And it's happening in Phoenix in a couple weeks, like B. Waldo just said. You guys are all invited to go. You can pay with crypto if you want to preserve your identity. There's multiple routes to that. And it's going to be amazing. It's going to be groundbreaking because all the people that are like really, really involved in Darrow at the moment, maybe not all, right, but many are going to be there in the flesh. We've got amazing talks and workshops all lined up for you guys. It's going to be so fun. And I want to see you guys there. Actually, I don't even know if I can say that technically, considering all the hoopla with Deluxe, but I'm not going to get into those jokes right now. But you guys, you should come. It's going to be amazing. And I feel like this year, we are going to be setting the foundation for so much of Darrow's culture to unfold. It's going to be very intimate. And so if you really admire people in this talk, in this module, like, you know, Raphael will be there, B. Waldo, Mr. A will be there via Mr. A. I'm not sure why it has a dot next to you. I'm unable to click any buttons to get you there. But yeah, I'm sorry if it looks like you're on some type of request here, but there's nothing to click on for some reason. B. Waldo, and I don't know if Tech Leaks is coming this year, but definitely a lot of heavy hitters in the Darrow world will be there. And It's going to be phenoms because we're going to get to connect deeply and create the future of Darrow. And my talk in specific is going to be a little bit about the mind power aspect. And I want to leave you guys with a teeny taste right now of what I'm going to be offering. You know, whether you're aware of it or not, each and every one of our thoughts has the ability to create reality. And as those of us that are kind of like foundational in the community of Darrow, we're really guiding the future of Darrow a lot. And so I encourage everybody to really step into your future self as somebody who utilizes Darrow regularly for their life and is protected via the privacy that Darrow offers, and potentially also benefits from the massive influx of Darrow users that might be onboarding one day if we so choose to dream that into existence. So I'm feeling very called right now and inspired to remind people about the power of our thoughts and how we carry ourselves right now will dictate the future of not just our lives, but also our collective life as a Darrow community member. Who else wants to? Oh, Mr. A. It finally worked. Yeah, so you guys are welcome to share. Go ahead.
Hi, everybody. I caught the last part of the talk today. Caught the last quarter at least. I was traveling and I just couldn't connect. But I want to touch base on a couple of points because, like I said, it was a secret-centric talk, which is awesome. And I did hear the conversation about banking near the end and the difficulties of banking. And I think my opinion on this, and that comes from my background, some of the stuff I'm doing, is that trying to connect Darrow to banks directly is not the best use of our energy. What we need to do is actually make banks obsolete, but still have them available within the network through some sort of gateway so that we can use them when we need to do real life things. So the whole point of having wealth and building, companies, entrepreneurship, and all those other things is to, build wealth. Eventually that wealth has to make its way to the old system somehow, whether it's, through BTC or through some other gateway that's even better than BTC into the bank account. So I think for 2024, our goal should be to build those systems and be ready to make the banks obsolete, except for the parts where we actually need them for. So they're not actually the ultimate gatekeepers. We're actually using them instead of them using us.
I agree with that. I just want to add to that. The point of crypto was to get away from the system, and it seems like a lot of people are building their crypto to work with the current financial system, and it seems like they're just kind of missing the point. Crypto was created to replace that system, not necessarily just intertwine with it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, still have to talk with the old system. It's the same. It's same like when we had horse and carriage, and then suddenly cars came into the picture. The cars still had to drive in the old horse and carriage roads full of mud and shit until we create paved roads. So yeah, we're in the same situation here. We're gonna have to, have this super amazing vehicle called Darrow that is going to be driving on brand new roads, but every so often it has to step up those brand new roads and drive on a road full of crap to do certain things they need to do. Like, for example, buy real estate, unless the real estate seller is going to accept Darrow or some other token that we're using on top of Darrow to make things happen, because that's one of the beauties of Darrow. Until that can happen, we're going to have to talk to the old system. And I know that is coming. I have insider knowledge on how that's all going to unfold. And we just have to be prepared for it and not spend too much time trying to talk to the banks. The solution's coming, and next year is going to be the year where it happens. So that's one thing that I can say that I know will happen. So let's not waste too much time trying to worry about the banks too much. They're going to be there. We're going to use them, but they're not going to.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, so it looks like we have come to a very organic end of our time together today. I have thoroughly enjoyed hearing from you guys and connecting. And keep going to these, you guys. We're going to have a lot of them. And this is like just the beginning of our community expanding and growing together. The possibilities in Daro are absolutely endless and infinite. And it's up to each of us to really actualize what we're called to and visualize. So even if you're not a developer, you are still a part of that with your thoughts and your words. So thank you guys again for joining us. And thank you so much to Asylum and Cryptoid and Nonsenses to inviting all of us in this new format of a decentralized podcast. I believe this is probably the world's only and first privacy-focused decentralized podcast model, and it is brilliant. So thank you guys again, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.
Take care, everyone.
No, thanks everyone. Great talk.
Thank you all.